Welcome back to K-Ratio's Week in Preview. I'm Kyle Littner and I'm here today to provide actionable insight for the future, not recap the past. In this week's episode, the great freight resurgence of 2020 continues, but there's one key market worth watching. We'll break down what that means for you this week, but first let's take a look at where the freight market currently stands. The National Outbound Tender Volume Index, in blue, has risen beyond all expectations to a level only seen during the peak of the COVID restocking phase, well beyond anything seen at this time in both 2019 in orange or even 2018 in green. You can question the American economy, you can question American manufacturing, but you cannot question the American consumer and its appetite for finished goods. Just 1 week ago, the industry was collectively astonished at those volume prints, and we stand a full 10% higher today. If volume is the fuel for this rally, cancellations have been the accelerant, and national rejections have skyrocketed to over 13% since flatlining at 2% on May 1st. Outside of the COVID restock push, this is the highest OTRI reading since December 2018. This is more than a seasonal bump, this is a fundamental shift. While we have been warning of a capacity crunch coming for a few weeks, this problem was localized to LA and then the western region before spreading eastward. Additionally, this was a volume-driven rally with strong imported good volume on the West Coast. It wasn't until last week, however, when we noted that the supply side of the equilibrium had changed, and that's why this rally has some legs to it. As a brief refresher, here's another look at a chart displaying the total count of for-hire tractors unexpectedly dropping last month. The 1% decline in the number of FMCSA registered tractors means that we have less available truck capacity at a time of historic demand. Less trucks and more freight means only one thing: higher rates. And that's where we find ourselves today, with the national long-haul rate at its highest price since the tariff pull forward of November 2018. Now, admittedly, this is June, a typically strong month for rates per mile, but it is the recent developments in one major market and the freight on the horizon that have us sitting squarely in the freight bull camp. Putting aside all opinions on the U.S. economy, admittedly I am one of the biggest bears around, there is no arguing with the volumes and corresponding prices currently seen. We gave you an alternative theory last week on consumer discretionary spending during COVID times. While it may sound odd at first listen, frankly, there is no playbook on what to expect during a global pandemic. All we can do is take the data and use that to piece together what may come next. So what's coming next? Well, apparently a lot of freight. This chart depicting prices for 40-foot ocean containers from China to the U.S. West Coast shows a price increase of 45% since June 1st and a rate twice as much as anything seen for this time in 2018 or 2019. While this doesn't display volume, we can deduce that there is either more freight than available capacity or more freight demand than recent history has allowed. Either way, things aren't slowing down out west anytime soon, and all of those goods have to go somewhere. A more near-term situation to monitor is our key market to watch. While this market rally may have begun in LA, cancellations across the country quickly popped up in all major markets with the exception of one: Chicago. While Chicago is typically a favorite destination for rail traffic from LA, that hasn't materialized this season, and Chicago is yet to pick up the slack. A chart comparing the national average for rejections against the major markets of LA, Dallas, Atlanta, and Chicago clearly shows the cellar dweller unable to keep pace with its peers. This dynamic alone could very well be what's keeping RPMs from a complete meltdown, as Chicago is not only a major market by volume, but a key center of distribution for the entire Midwest and the bridge from west to east and east to west. But what if Chicago was on the verge of joining this freight rally? Take a look at a chart of cancellations in Chicago for both outbound in blue and inbound in yellow. The two should move in tandem, but notice how the rate of inbound cancellations has separated from and accelerated past outbound cancellations, now sitting at more than double the rate. Why? Because carriers don't want to head to Chicago because other markets have seen volume growth and higher rates per mile. This isn't a reason alone for price to rally, but with volume in Chicago up 25% since the end of May, we now have a major market yet to participate in the rally with volume growth and a lot less trucks in the area. If you're looking for the next domino in this rally to fall, I think you just found it. What's this mean for freight this week? Well, more of the same as we head into the last leg of the 4th of July push. Capacity is still extremely tight out west, really anything west of the Mississippi, so carriers will demand a premium to leave the region. That means brokers, you're going to pay up for nearly all contract freight, especially long hauls, as carriers will try and make it home before the holiday, but you will find a lot more spot market activity. Shippers, Putting aside your jump in spot loads for a moment, now might be the time to reevaluate this current trend of mini bids. You've repriced the contract market so tight at a time when conditions seem ripe for expansion that this dynamic might ultimately be the straw that breaks the freight bear's back. To stay up to date with everything freight, follow us on LinkedIn. Or for more information on our risk-free diesel hedging program, our award-winning freight intelligence platform, or dynamic real-time pricing even in today's extreme environment, check us out at k-ratio.com. All of you, please stay safe and thank you again for watching.